All right. Hi, everybody. I'm San Francisco Mayor London Breed, and welcome to the Pride-Raising Flag Ceremony. And I have a very, very big, happy announcement today. I almost want to cry because I'm so happy. But I, along with our LGBTQ public safety officials, will be marching in Pride this year. And so let me just start by saying something. I want to first apologize to so many members of the LGBTQ community who were hurt by the decision that I made to stand by our various public safety officials of the LGBTQ community. And I apologize for not also recognizing the hurt and the pain that I know some feel as a result of their own interactions and engagement with law enforcement. Because I know Pride is a really important time for the LGBTQ community. And it's a time where I have always felt that I was always welcomed and I can be whoever it is that I want to be. And I am so happy that the theme of this year is love will keep us together. Because seeing the people from our various law enforcement and public safety agencies who are also an important part of the LGBTQ community, seeing how they came together with the Pride Board to come up with a compromise so that they too can be proud of who they are and what they represent, and the understanding and respect from both sides is a symbol of love bringing us together. Pride is so amazing in San Francisco, and in fact, I remember my first Pride parade. And I remember thinking, all these cars going by, man, if I go use the bathroom, I'm gonna lose my spot. Which is why I always had a float, which is why I wanted to always have something that put a smile on people's faces. And so many people come from all over the world to celebrate Pride in San Francisco. And I'm so happy that love truly did bring us together. And I want to really thank the Pride Board, and they'll say a few words, Carolyn Weisinger and Suzanne Ford. I want to thank the person who is in charge of the Pride Alliance for SFPD. Catherine Winters is joining us here today. I want to thank so many of our elected officials, including the person that helped facilitate a lot of this, who is the co-founder of the Transgender Cultural District in San Francisco, Aria Saeed. Yes, the family had a family fight, but now we're back together again. And with that, before we get started with our program that is truly really more meaningful this year than ever before, especially after not having Pride or any major activities in the city for the past 2 years, I want to introduce a person who really, in some ways, needs no introduction. Tim Selig has been leading the Gay Men's Chorus in San Francisco for the past 35 years. And this year, he's going to be conducting a number of farewell concerts, but although you may be technically leaving your role, my hope is that you're still going to be around. And today he wanted to bless us with a special performance, which is very rare indeed. So ladies and gentlemen, Tim Seeley.
Thank you. I was invited to do this yesterday, and I asked the mayor's people, so will there be an orchestra? And they're like, no. A piano? No. A harmonica? No, just you. But I'm thrilled to be here. I came out in 1986 out of the womb of the Southern Baptist Church. I had 2 children. They were 7 and 9 years old. It was a really rough time. In 1989, a group of 4 gay men, the Flirtations, put out a cassette. It followed 8 tracks. Didn't have an 8-track, but a cassette with a song on it that when I heard it, I got my kids in the car, put the cassette in, and played it for them on loop over and over. I just imagined, and I wanted them to know, all of us in this room, had we had someone sing this song to us, how our lives would have been different. You can be anybody that you want to be. You can love whomever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads. And know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one. But the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're gone. Some girls grow up strong and bold. Some boys are quiet and kind. Some race on ahead, some follow behind. Some grow in their own space and time. Listen to this, kids. Some women love women, and some men love men. Some raise children, and some never do. You can dream all the day, never reaching the end of everything possible for you. Don't be rattled by names, by taunts or games, but seek out spirits true. You can be anybody that you want to be. You can love whomever you will. But the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're gone. Oh, the love you leave behind when you're gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. We're so grateful to have you here today. Pride Month in San Francisco. We have so many events and activities, so much to do, and I'm so glad I'm not going to miss any of it. Last night, we were feeling the effects of a summer in San Francisco in Twin Peaks, when we lit up the pink triangle, and you'll be able to see it from outer space even. If you fly somewhere with, what's that guy's name that flew out in his spaceship? Elon Musk. Elon Musk can see it from space. But the pink triangle is lit up for all of us to see. It will illuminate San Francisco over the next month. And we have raised the flag. We have the various activities. We even have a Juneteenth Pride celebration at the African American Art and Culture Complex. And I want to take this moment to just really thank and recognize so many of our leaders who are joining us today. Not everyone will have the opportunity to say a few words, but they are here to support. And starting with our Supervisor, Matt Dorsey, who's going to be speaking, as well as Supervisor Mandelman and Supervisor Myrna Melgar. Thank you so much for being here from the Board of Supervisors. I want to thank, we have another one? Yeah. Oh, hey, Supervisor. Ooh, and I like that shirt. Supervisor Catherine Stephanie, thank you so much for being here today. We also have our Assessor Recorder, Joaquin Torres. We have our City Administrator, Carmen Chu, our Sheriff, Paul Miyamoto, our City Attorney, David Chu, because it's musical chairs, so I'm trying to get these titles right, and our Senator Scott Wiener. And I also want to really acknowledge and thank many of our LGBTQ department heads who serve and protect and work hard for this city every single day, including our Fire Chief, Janine Nicholson. Director of the SFMTA, Jeff Tumlin, is here. The person who got us through COVID, even though we had a fight almost every day, Dr. Grant Colfax. And I think Pal is here from the Transgender District. Thank you, Pal, for your work. Paul Henderson, the Office of Police Accountability. Carol Eisen, who's trying to hide from everybody, but the contracts are done, so no need to hide. And some of our other, I think, directors are here, and I see Donna Sachet, like, hurry up and get this over with. But you look good in your red. So many amazing people who helped to run this city, and I want to send a special shout out to the director of the Department of the Human Rights Commission, Cheryl Davis, for all the amazing work she does, as well as our commissioners who are in the house. Raise your hand. Thank you so much for the many commissioners who are joining us here today. And with that, we have our wonderful president of the Pride Board, who is going to say a few words. Yeah. We're family again, so you got to say. The aunties didn't come, they didn't get enough notice. Well, let me just say, Carolyn has been really weathering this storm for the past couple of years. It has been very challenging. We remember the last year in 2019 when we were able to celebrate Pride to the fullest, and it was a wonderful Pride for the city and county of San Francisco. And of course, that all changed with COVID, but the Pride Board still found a way for us to come together in various capacities, and that had a lot to do with the leadership of the president of the Board of Pride, Carolyn Weisinger.
Thank you. My sister called me from Texas and told me don't cry, and she told me don't have a Baptist fit and fall out, so I'm not going to do that. But I will say, and you will hear me say this a couple of times, I have a lot of speeches. I didn't know if we would make it. I remember after we found out about this thing called COVID and getting called to the Palace Hotel, and we said we can just hang it up, close down the organization, there will be no pride, we won't have any problems. And we were able to figure out how we would still celebrate when we were all stuck in the house. I want to give a shout out to Fred Lopez, our former executive director who's not here with us. But it really took a lot of work, a lot of figuring out to talk to sponsors, talk to community members. How can we still get you to buy into sitting in the house and celebrating Pride? But we have a lot of our former board members, a lot of our former executives, longtime board members, and I think that I'm going to bring this up because I want to do this correctly. If you've ever been to one of our board meetings, if you've ever been to one of our member meetings, you know the mission of the San Francisco Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender Pride Celebration Committee is to educate the world, commemorate our heritage, celebrate our culture, and liberate our people. Said very loudly every meeting just like that. We believe very much in the liberation of our people, and one thing we learned in this pandemic is we are fallible. We had 2 years to figure out how we could better liberate our people, and as much as we like just marching down the street in a parade, it was so much more than that. So I want to thank Mayor Breed, and I'm gonna thank her a little personally, because I will say the first time I stood here in 2019 in some jeans and a button down, and she looked at me like, girl, we don't do that here in City Hall. And so I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank all of Black San Francisco who took me in. If I never get to say it again, yeah, y'all gave me all these gray hairs in the front of my head, but y'all also taught me how important it was to have a Black president in this organization and what it meant to actually liberate the organization, what it meant to change policy, so that when we came back in 2022, we knew that we were centering all of our folks. I'm gonna leave you with one last statement. You have the Combahee River Collective. What did the Combahee River Collective say, twins? They said, we will know everyone is free when Black women are free. I always say that we will know that everyone is free when Black, queer, and trans women are free. So I will always continue to work. I want to thank Aria Saeed, the members of the Transgender Cultural District who stepped in to make this possible and make this happen. Happy Pride for the first time in 3 years, y'all.
Thank you, Carolyn. And who's been working and following Carolyn's direction at every step of the way is the Executive Director of the Pride Board for San Francisco, Suzanne Ford.
Thank you, Mayor Breed. No truer words have been said than I am following the directions of Carolyn Weisinger.
That's right.
Thank you to the supervisors. Thank you to all the department heads. She knows she couldn't find anybody else that wanted this job. No, that's not true. Actually, I woke up one morning and I was the executive director of the most iconic queer organization in the world. And I appreciate that. I have felt the responsibility of that lately, too. You know, 2.5 years ago, I dreamed of being president of the board. And I got a phone call from Carolyn Weisinger, and I hope I don't cry. She asked me for my support to her presidency. And I had been taught by some very smart Black trans women in my upraising to make space for Black women. And that's one of the best decisions I ever made. Carolyn has been the moral compass for San Francisco Pride for the last 2.5 years, and she will continue to. And every decision that's made at San Francisco Pride, Carolyn's voice is a strong decision maker in that process. Thank you, Carolyn. I want to thank some of the Pride family. You may not know this, but there's a ton of people that do work all year long, so those 2 days in the last weekend of June, we can have a parade and a celebration and we can all come together. And a lot of people in that family you don't know. You never know about them. Lisa Williams is standing up here, Michelle Meow, Donna Sachet, George Ridley, Gary Virginia, Marsha Levine. You probably don't know all those names, but those are just a few of the people that in our family. And you know, it's a hard job. The board of directors, there's 2 board members up here right now, our vice president, Wen Pham, and Spring Collins, my daughter. The board of Pride is a non-paid position, and I did it for 3.5 years. It's not a glamorous job. They get to stand up here once a year. They're not paid, and they work really hard, and they take the weight of the community so seriously. They actually represent all the people you see here today. And Pride represents a different picture than we might have represented back in the 1970s, 1980s. It's a queer family that looks different, and that's what we're supposed to do, and I'm so proud of that. Mayor, thank you for having me today. I had an eloquent speech, but then I wasn't sure I was going to give it. I want to thank Aria. I want to thank Supervisor Mandelman and Dorsey for their help. And then you're going to introduce Senator Weiner? Okay. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, Suzanne, for your words, and thank you so much for working so closely with our office. I'm going to take a little bit of a point of privilege as mayor and take advantage of this opportunity because, as I said, this past week has been, I know, very hard. And in particular, there was a woman who had to sit me down and have a hard conversation about some of the challenges that we were facing here in the city, and we were able to come together. And a lot of the reason why we were able to come together had a lot to do with Aria Saeed, who is the co-founder of the Transcultural District in San Francisco, and I wanted her to just say a few words if she's open to it.
Happy Pride. That was a little late. Can y'all do that one more time? Happy Pride. I don't want to hold y'all because I'm sure they have snacks or something. Anyone that knows me, I don't love public speaking as much, but I just want to say I'm so grateful for this moment. I'm so grateful, Mayor Breed, that you are in the parade and that our LGBT officers will also be represented in the parade, and that we're all coming together to celebrate the little bit of victories that we do have in a time where our rights are consistently being taken away by the Supreme Court, where there's over 200 anti-trans legislation pieces across this country taking away the rights of trans kids and trans people, the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. All these things are happening, and we have a little bit of rights and a little bit of freedom. And so this month we're gonna celebrate that, yes. And then we're also gonna still keep fighting for our rights, right? Everyone say aye. Aye. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Aria. And just so you know, I think COVID might have had something to do with the snack situation afterwards, so I apologize. But I'm looking at Tom Horn, who's always the snack man. So I'll keep my fingers crossed that we'll have a few snacks next year. In the meantime, go out and spend money at all the restaurants that surround the city and make sure that you tip your waiters and waitresses. And with that, Aria said we have to continue the fight. And I gotta say, there is no more fierce of an advocate and fighter than Senator Scott Weiner. And I also have to say, I appreciate his hard work. I appreciate his consistency. I appreciate how hard he fights for San Francisco, but how much he cares about the people of this city. And so I'm so grateful for him and honored to introduce our incredible U.S. Senator Scott Weiner. Oh, you guys know what I meant. U.S. State Senator.
Thank you. I got called supervisor on the street a lot, and once a supervisor, always a supervisor. So I'm just so happy to be here because I think a lot of us doing Pride for year after year after decade, we start to take it for granted. It's just something that happens every year. Of course, we know that it takes unending work every year, but for a lot of people in the community, I think it gets taken for granted. And not having Pride for the most part for 2 years and not having the parade for 2 years and these gatherings, I think it really reminded people not to take it for granted and how critically important Pride is for all of us to recharge our batteries, to reconnect with each other, to see people you may not see throughout the year and to recommit to the fight. So this is really exciting. And I want to thank the Pride Board, Suzanne and Carolyn, everyone else for not giving up during the pandemic and for keeping it going. And so I I was in my first Pride in 1994 in Philadelphia, and then San Francisco Pride, my first time was 95. This will be, I think, if I'm counting right, my 24th San Francisco Pride. And it really, it just does matter so much. And you know, with some of the turbulence this year, the disagreements among Pride and the police and the mayor, and then, you know, there's a separate Pride protest that's going to happen on Polk Street. People are like, some people were coming up to me and stressing out, like, oh my God, what's happening? And I'm like, don't worry about it. It is all going to be good. We're all going to come back together. It's okay to have some family disagreements and arguments, because in the end, we are all family. And I'm so thrilled that we are going to be coming together, and just really excited about that. And because we have to understand that whatever our disagreements here in San Francisco, and we have many disagreements, we love arguing with ourselves as a city about very important issues. We have to keep our eye on the ball, and I think Aria, you know, mentioned it, and it is so true. We literally have laws getting passed that are very similar to Vladimir Putin's gay propaganda laws that he passed. Imagine in the U.S., laws that you can compare to fascist laws passed by Vladimir Putin. We have literally laws, and just what's happening in Texas and Alabama and elsewhere, to really think about what it actually means, that you have a trans kid whose parents are supporting that kid. So many trans kids, so many queer kids in general, are rejected by their family, kicked out, they become homeless, right? That's, you know, and you have families that are affirming and supporting their kids, and what's going to happen, potentially? That the kid's going to be taken out and put in foster care, and the parents are going to be put in prison. Oh, and the doctor put in prison too, up to 10 years. Just imagine what universe we're in, that in the United States of America in 2022, that is happening. And just imagine that these kids are not living in a cave. These kids have phones, they have internet, they see the news, they know what's happening. And you imagine you are some 12 or 13-year-old queer kid in Florida or in Texas or in Alabama, really anywhere, and you hear powerful politicians running around saying, we're taking you away from your parents, we're putting your parents in jail, and we're going to blow up your lives. And is it any wonder that the rates of suicide are so high among LGBTQ youth? That's not just random, that's because of things like this. And that is happening in this country in 2022. People are still dying from HIV, particularly in Black and brown communities, and 50% of homeless youth are LGBTQ. So we have our work cut out for us. So we're going to recharge our batteries, and we're going to get out there and fight and win. So happy Pride, everyone.
Thank you, Senator Wiener, for that very insightful perspective. And it's why I'm really so proud and happy about all the amazing work that we do here in San Francisco. And in fact, this upcoming budget, which I'm hoping the members of the board will support because they're the next speakers up, so maybe we'll get their commitments on the mic. But we started a program called Trans Home SF because of the trans community. And in fact, looking over that program and looking at what was possible in terms of the numbers and the disparities and all of that information, you know, it was really great to have a member of the board like Supervisor Raphael Mandelman, who just understood what we needed to do to make those investments and our commitment to end trans homelessness in San Francisco, our commitment to provide universal income, and a number of other initiatives. And again, this is not just coming from me and Supervisor Mandelman. This is a lot coming from what the community is asking for. And aren't we lucky to have a city that believes in supporting the people that have the direct, not only experience, but also the direct engagement with the community to understand where the needs are. And I am really grateful that Supervisor Mandelman has been a real partner in fighting for this community in general and fighting for this city. And I can't wait until we're able to cut the ribbon on our new LGBTQ museum in the Castro. I'm looking forward to so many wonderful things to celebrate and uplift the LGBTQ community, not just during Pride, but year-round. And the person that's been an incredible partner on the Board of Supervisors in helping to do that is Supervisor Raphael Mandelman.
Oh my God, I'm so relieved. I just want to say how grateful I am, and I think our San Francisco queer community is, and I think the whole city is, that people of goodwill have spent a lot of time in a lot of meetings over the last several months to get us to the point where we're all feeling comfortable about being in the Pride Parade. And one of the things I've been saying to folks as we, approached this month was like, I'm not sure anybody's wrong here. I agree with everyone in this. And so Suzanne and Carolyn and the Pride Board, thank you so much. And to Kat and Michael, who's somewhere, and all the members of the Pride Alliance for being thoughtful about this, to Supervisor Dorsey, who I think kind of helped out and give this a final push in the end, to Aria. People heard each other and listened, and this is exactly how you want things to happen. And thank you, Mayor Breed. And I'm getting emotional too. I'm so happy that we're here for a number of reasons. One is I want us to be able to celebrate Pride this year because it is our first Pride back in 3 years. And because our Pride Board has kept the flame alive these last several years, thinking about ways to try to have Pride without having Pride. I mean, it's been hard, but they've done it. And then the other thing that's, the reason I am relieved about being here right now is, and a thought that I have had and I've been carrying with me these last several weeks is like, I don't agree with London Breed about everything. London Breed is annoyed by me frequently. But yeah, I know. I always I screw up these things. But one thing that I have never doubted and have no doubt about is London Breed's commitment to the queer community. If you look at our terms in office pretty much overlap. But if I look back over these last 3 to 4 years, every single year, this woman comes forward with groundbreaking and unprecedented investments in queer people. In the most vulnerable queer people. She focuses on the transgender community, and she's talked about some of it, universal basic income in San Francisco, unprecedented investments directed at unhoused trans folks. We know that if we do not focus on unhoused trans folks, we will not serve unhoused trans folks. London Breed understands that, and so she's made that the focus of her investments. And now, a commitment to end transgender homelessness within 5 years in San Francisco. We can do it, but it's still amazing, and this mayor is going to make it happen. If you look at investments in queer community institutions, housing for LGBT seniors, we're going to get a building in District 8 that's going to house more than 100 LGBTQ seniors, where they're going to have a home and be able to stay in San Francisco. And if they get evicted, it's not going to mean leaving the state or leaving the Bay Area. Whether it's going to be the museum that we're both super excited about, investments in Tim Selig's building, the Gay Men's Chorus building. And then, the investments in people and the recognition of the talent in the queer community. The number of queer department heads, as I look around, they're all brilliant. But that's amazing that our city is led by so many queer people. Our commissioners, Deborah Walker, who's about to step onto the police commission, good luck. So one of my fears, I get anxious about a lot of stuff, but one of my anxieties about this month was that reality of London Breed's record might get obscured, and it won't. But also, we're just going to have a fantastic party. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I think I'm supposed to endorse. I'm supposed to announce the newest queer supervisor in San Francisco and in the Bay Area. And up until now, I've been able to say I'm the only one. I can't say it anymore, but I'm super happy about that. And that is, again, a reflection, I think, of the mayor's commitment to the queer community. Matt Dorsey, you helped us get to this point with this year's Pride, and I am so excited to see all the things that you're going to do on the board. It's a joy to serve with you. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for appointing Matt Dorsey to represent District 6.
Thank you so much. I want to really express my gratitude to Carolyn and Suzanne. Yesterday in a conversation, Carolyn said, "I'm going to be blunt," and I said, "Good, because we don't have time for nuance." Getting this done, I think, was just so important, and I want to express my gratitude to Joe Swice from my office, Lisa Williams, the Human Rights Commission, Cheryl Davis, the LGBTQ+ Advisory Commission, the people who are really having the difficult conversations, and I especially want to express my gratitude, because you know how personal it is to me, to Officer Catherine Winters, Officer Mike Petuia, all the men, women, and non-binary members of the San Francisco Police Department, the San Francisco Fire Department, the San Francisco Sheriff's Department, for coming to the table with a spirit of collaboration and consensus and getting this done. I am so excited, like the mayor, to be marching in Pride. And I want to acknowledge, too, that, when I said that I was going to sit it out, it was partly because I spent 2 years in the police department, and these are my colleagues and friends. But I also want to remember, when I moved to San Francisco as a young gay man, there was a former police commissioner named Wayne Friday, who was a mentor to me. Dennis Collins was a groundbreaking DA investigator who was a mentor to me. Joe Daley was the first lesbian police commissioner appointed in 1980. I got to work for 2 years in a police department that has been the beneficiary of LGBTQ+ leadership from no fewer than 10 police commissioners. And we're going to have an 11th, and I'm excited to be supporting Deborah Walker. It means the world to me, to our sworn public safety officers and firefighters and EMTs and sheriffs, that we got this done. Happy Pride, everybody. Let's get out and celebrate.
Well, this brings us to the end of our program. I just want to thank everyone who's joining us here today. And I also just want to specifically call out and thank Tom Horn. Many of you know that Tom does extraordinary work, mostly behind the scenes in this community, and a big supporter of all things Pride, but also a big, major ambassador for the city and county of San Francisco. So we are honored by your presence, grateful to have you, and grateful to have each and every one of you. Love will bring us together. Love has brought us together. And in the spirit of love, let's celebrate Pride like San Francisco celebrates Pride. And let's turn it up. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you.